Hello, I'm David Veach, and this is Elevate Your Performance. I was trying to record this episode on Friday. I tried it twice. Both times the camera messed up or something got screwed up. So I'm going to try it again. So bear with me. It's a little bit long today. The question is, how do we find ourselves in cultures of defiance? I started this culture conversation on Thursday. Defiance is the open regard, disregard, or contempt for something or someone. Now, I've seen different types of defiant cultures in several different organizations. In two of those cases, it was a union workforce that just defied any management policy. I've been doing some digging, and I've been reading the news, and I've been doing some critical thinking, and I'm closing in on what I believe to be the root cause of this kind of defiance. I'm almost convinced that a defiant culture, whether in an organization or in a nation or society, flows from distrust of the opposition based on false or exaggerated claims by influential people in leadership roles. When leaders, whether they have actual or official leadership positions or if they're simply people others tend to listen to and believe, when they make false or exaggerated claims of the activities or performance of some opposition system or opposition leader, people tend to believe them and resist or defy. What's bad becomes good, what's good becomes bad. I even saw this in Toyota for a short period of time after the first U.S. president was named at Toyota Motor Manufacturing in Kentucky. He happened to take the job at the same time the company decided to make changes to the suggestion system that restricted what ideas would be eligible for consideration and for reward compensation. Team members associated that change with the new president. And I was even asked by a friend who worked there if I thought the new president was trying to bring the United Auto Workers into the plant. That was a case of unfortunate timing without clear communication about a planned change or why the change was made. Neither the president at the time nor the managers of the suggestion system were malicious in intent, but the influential voices started rumors that spread quickly, and those rumors were too believable. The result of Toyota wasn't particularly bad from a performance standpoint that I could tell. I mean, they were still producing about 2,000 high-quality vehicles a day, but the difference in the way the plant felt was palpable. I've been in that plant 100 times. Most of the time, team members working on the line would take a second and look up from their work at visitors and smile or maybe even wave. You could feel positive energy in the building, but during that dark time, it felt like a pall was on the place. When anyone looked up at you, there were hard lines on their faces, and that energy level was just gone. We've seen this same growing split in the culture of our country. I think it started with George W. Bush's presidency and the stories about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq that prompted our invasion. Then when Obama was elected, we see the partisan shift in several news organizations that slid them decidedly to the left or to the right. Each began coloring the events with that left or right slant. When Trump was elected, it seemed we stomped the gas pedal for that radical kind of reporting, and audiences could now observe the same exact events but come to two completely different conclusions. Now, with the seemingly clear election results being openly contested by the sitting president for the first time in history, with half the country absolutely supporting him and the other half absolutely defying him, we find ourselves in that same kind of dark and stressful place that is just made worse by this pandemic. Now, this kind of defiant culture can't last long without having serious consequences. So how would an organization or a nation pull itself out of a defiant culture? That one I'm still working on, but I believe that without a completely different leader taking a dominant role in the organization, it'll only get worse, but then it gets ugly, because that leader has to be both remarkably consistent with the truth and ruthless in the suppression of disinformation from the opposition. Now, we've seen examples of this in history in both extremes. When Abraham Lincoln was elected in 1860, he was immediately and forcefully branded a tyrant by the opposition. And he was. He had to be a tyrant to draw the nation out of the most terribly defiant culture ever. Hitler rose to power by uniting German nationalists against everything else, especially the Jews, by using every lie and exaggeration that he could conceive, but he sold it. The only way out of both of those cases was a brutal war. And of course, the winners write the history. So can we work together at a grassroots level to find the common things that bind us together? Can we deliberately ignore the news and information from the extreme ends of the political spectrum and not let it inflame us to the point where we want to take up arms? What we have to do is deliberately step toward compliance together and build systems that allow us to continue building toward engagement. For an organization, that's really not too difficult, but for a nation, that's an entirely different story. The next segment is going to be on a culture of compliance, which I believe characterizes about 95% of the organizations on the planet. It's not necessarily a bad thing, and it works, but it's not where we need to be. We need to be on this road to engagement across the spectrum. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.